It was a Spiritus #2 piece, and that one was inspired by nature, and it's quite an organic piece. It's made out of wires and leaf forms. For me, the inspiration came from just the way that leaves respond to the sun, and so it's got quite a flowing movement to it, and then just where the head just kind of almost looks up, here you have this kind of bloom of leaves, and it kind of spirals in its kind of formation at the top. My workshop is based in the Birmingham Jewellery Quarter, and it's been historically the centre for silver and jewellery making. For me, working in silver, it's a beautiful material to work with. I think there's so many different qualities that lends itself to being worked with. One being it's a really malleable material, so it's very giving and responsive to a hammer when you shape and form it. I think also it's a precious metal too, so you know, just the fact that it's been used as a material to make great works of art for thousands of years, and then also there's a sense of privilege really to be able to use that same material to make the pieces that I make. It's also a really robust and enduring material to work and to make pieces that hopefully will outlast my lifetime. There's a sense of wonder and mystery about nature, and so for me, when I look at plants and I study them and do really close observations, you know, there's so much, you know, magic that happens within that, and you know, what comes out of that I pour into my work really. I'll collect objects that I find interesting, and then I'll, you know, look at those in detail through doing kind of observation drawings and doing illustrations, and just taking elements really that I find interesting in these objects that I collect, and then from that I draw out just intricate details that I might then feed into my work. From producing sketches, I then go on to produce models in 3 dimensions, so often that might come through working with paper and then wires and manipulating those into 3-dimensional forms. And for me, that's just one way that I'm able to just really produce several kind of almost speculative alternatives to a design, and model making for me just it stimulates the way I think and the way you might visualize the form, and also at that point you can change the proportions, change the form quite quickly before you move on to silver. I think in the early days, I think I was very, very precious with working with silver, and I was almost frightened to kind of hammer it just in case something, you know, happened. But I think once you overcome that, it's just a material that you can just express yourself in really. And I think over the years, and it does take several years just to gain that fluency with the material that you work in. And it's actually quite often that sometimes I'll just go straight into the material. I'll just pick up a piece of silver. I've got the idea in my head, and the shape that will just evolve quite organically in my hand. So that's another way that I might work too with the material, which is quite liberating, I think, to work in that way. One of the qualities of silver is that when you do heat the metal, it takes on a very kind of white, almost pearlescent feel. And so I think just being able to work with a material that has this quality is really beautiful. I was born in Barmouth in the northwest of Wales to Vietnamese parents, and my parents they were known as the Vietnamese boat people, And it was in 1984 that they left Vietnam by boat, and it was a fishing boat that my grandfather owned actually. And they were at sea for, I think it was 3 days, 4 nights. There were just over 90 people on this fishing boat. They were saved at sea, really fortunately. Well, finally they were accepted residency in Wales, and that's how, you know, we came about to settle in Wales in 1985, and that's where I was born, also in Barmouth. You know, it's a real honour to have won a prize at the Eisteddfod. I think particularly when you understand the long history of the Eisteddfod and that it's been going since the 12th century, and the fact that I was born in Wales, and that kind of connection that I have with Wales as well. I think particularly through my family's history, you know, there's a sense of, you know, just a sense of appreciation really, and such gratitude that I have, you know, to the Welsh people for really taking in my family and just giving us that opportunity to start a new life. And you know, my mum recounts so many stories of how the Welsh people were so hospitable and welcoming, and you know, that really you know, means so much to me.